All right, welcome back to The Queer Economy, where we celebrate LGBTQ people around the world as they impact business, culture, community, and more. Today, we're joined by Amanda, founder of One Media, a marketing agency focused on social media and music marketing. Amanda, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
This is so exciting. So how was your summer?
It's good. Actually, I'm going to music festival literally tomorrow and the rest of the weekend. And it's like the biggest music festival in Montreal and in Canada. I'm really excited. Summer's been good. We've had like heat waves here on and off, so been dealing with that. But other than that, I can't really complain.
Oh, good. You're a big concert goer, right?
Yes.
Because I think I saw one of your Instagram pages is just you vlogging concerts,
Yeah.
which is so fun.
Yeah, I love
So
concerts.
I'll
Love live
talk more
music.
about concerts the further we
Yes.
get into the podcast because I want to hear all your hot takes. But first, I'd love to just start with a little bit more of your growing up, your childhood, some of the experiences that you had grappling with your queer identity, and just the beginning of Amanda.
Yeah. So growing up, I was in a very like predominantly white, straight environment. No one in my family has come out as queer or anything, so I'm the first one. There might be more, but who knows? But even like in school, in high school, I went to a all-girls Catholic high school, so that was very interesting. Going to like a school like that and being in settings that were very straight, it was hard for me to like understand my identity and understand who I was because it wasn't being shown anywhere that I was familiar with. And even back then, like in media and stuff, there wasn't much representation, especially for Asian women in general. So trying to figure out my identity while also feeling like I was boxed into place was very hard. When I was 16, I came out to my friends and family as bisexual, but I kind of already knew this since I was like 12. And that was like honestly better than I imagined. I was like scared to come out because I didn't really know what people were going to say or how they were going to like react to it, but it went well. And then fast forward 10 years later, I came out as lesbian basically at the beginning of this year, end of last year. And that was like much easier for me because I already knew that like people were accepting, but I was more so scared of what people were going to say in terms of the fact that like I was with men for so long. So then they'd be like, oh, like, how are you a lesbian if you've dated men before? And that was something that confused me too, because I was like, oh, like, how am I identifying as a lesbian if I've had boyfriends and like been with men before? But I mean, I don't think I'll ever have the answers to that. And that's okay. And I've made peace with that. And at the same time, like, it's also none of other people's business. So that's what I just try and like remind myself.
Totally. In one of our previous episodes, one of the guests made a really good point that the label is as good as it is a form of communicating something about yourself. And that can change over time.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously there is still those social norms that come up and that needs to come out again.
Yeah.
It sounds like it had some different emotions, but still had some hardship and some grappling. But you know yourself better than anyone else. And one day at a time and things can evolve and that's okay.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So tell me a little bit more about the intersections of being a queer Asian female. Like all of those three identities and the way that those overlap.
Yeah, so it's definitely hard. I feel like there's like a lot that goes into it. Like already being a woman in today's society is like, it's obviously better than the past, but people will still like treat you differently in certain settings, depends where you are. And then adding the Asian minority to it and then adding the queer to it just kind of like makes me feel out of place in a lot of places. Even like the queer community in Montreal, like sometimes I attend events and it's very like white, which is like totally fine. I mean, I'm happy that there's spaces for queer people to be, but I'm just like, where are the people that look like me? Like, and it's just like, I wish there was more people that looked like me in these spaces because it would make me feel a little bit more comfortable. It's difficult to like navigate and like have all those three labels to me, but then also I'm like, it's fun and I like being different, but it's also hard to deal with sometimes.
So that's a little bit on your queer identity. We might come back to that. But I'd love to hear, obviously you own your own marketing agency.
Yeah.
So when did you first start doing marketing? What parts of it do you love most? And what led you to where you're at today with your own agency?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I would consume a lot of YouTube. Like after school every day, I would go watch YouTube and stuff. And I think I very much grew up online. Like I would be on Twitter for like fandoms and stuff. And it kind of was always a part of me. And then when I was transitioning from going from high school to like university and stuff, I was like, what do I even want to like do with my life? Like I have no idea. And then I was like, realizing that social media started to become like a career path for people. But I was like, okay, it's too hard to like be a content creator full time. Not everyone makes it in that way. So I was like, how can I like be a part of this in a different way? So then I was like, oh, like I like editing YouTube videos and stuff. Like, let me start doing that on the side a bit. So in university, I was like freelancing, editing for like a few YouTubers. And then when I was done school, I was like, I don't think like the 9 to 5 life is for me. I don't even want to try. And then people were always like, oh, no, you still have to like, you have to try the 9 to 5. You have to try corporate. And I was like, no, like I know it's not for me. And at the time I was still living at home. So I was like, now is the perfect time to try and like jumpstart this business. Cause like I don't have to pay rent. I don't have like as many bills as I would when I move out. So I kind of just jump started it after university. And I was very grateful that a lot of my clients promoted me. So I got like 99% of my clients now from word of mouth, which is amazing. And yeah, I do video editing, podcast editing, and social media management. I think my favorite right now is like podcast editing because the conversations people have with people is so inspiring. And I feel like I already consume podcasts on my own time. So being able to like listen to podcasts and edit it and get paid at the same time is like the best of both worlds for me. So I'd say, yeah, podcast editing and making like social clips for it is like my favorite part right now.
Awesome. And how cool is that to be, you're getting the first look, you're getting the exclusive version of the podcast episode, and you get to hear all the raw conversations. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, no,
So
it's so fun.
you do all of these things for brands, for content creators, for anyone. Tell me more about the people you
Yeah. So it's mostly for everyone. Most of my clients are content creators, but I do have like an interior designer client. I also am starting to work with a reception hall for their social media, which is something I never done. I never done like corporate stuff. So like that's a new venture. But yeah, most of them are content creators. 99% of my clients are also women, which is fun. And I also have a few queer clients, so that's also fun.
So you're really like in the depths of podcasts, in a variety of conversations, in a variety of industries, with a variety of people. What does it mean to you for someone to be able to speak about their story, to share, what's happening in their life, what's happening with their brand? Just talk to me a little bit more about the power of speaking your story.
Yeah, I think it's really important because sometimes we think we're very alone in certain cases, whatever it may be, like whether it be with identity, with how our business is going, or things like that. And yeah, we tend to feel very alone. And I think hearing other people speak about raw, vulnerable stuff is important. And I think people sometimes think like, oh, who wants to hear my story? Who wants to hear what I'm going through? But there is like someone out there that can actually relate and get either like inspired or motivated or just feel better about themselves just by listening to your story. So I would highly recommend to everyone to share their story, whatever way you want to, whether it be a podcast or whether it just be going on like TikTok or Instagram and posting a video talking. Like, I think the power of storytelling is super beautiful. And with social media nowadays, like you can be scrolling on TikTok and fall upon someone that you have never seen before and relate to them in some aspect. And I think that's really cool.
So to anyone who's listening, who's like feels that itch, feels that need to tell their story a little bit more in some way, whether it's TikTok or a podcast or another form, what kind of advice would you give to them to getting started?
I would say to just do it. And I know that's easier said than done, but I think sometimes people think like, oh, you need the best camera, you need the best microphone, you need all these things before you can start posting, but that's so not true. I started posting on my like old MacBook Pro webcam and stuff, and the quality was not good, but I started somehow and then I upgraded my equipment along the way. And even now it's fun to like go back and look at my first content and be like, wow, like not only did I evolve like as a human, but also the quality of my stuff evolved. And I think also a lot of us are always scared to put stuff out there because we're like, what are people going to say? Like, how are the people close to me going to react? But at the same time, like easier said than done, but you shouldn't care about what other people say because at the end of the day, like you're doing something that's very vulnerable, raw, and brave. And you should like be proud of yourself for doing that. The people closest to you should support you no matter what you're doing. So if they aren't, that's just a signifier or something.
I think there's something to be said about the fact that at the end of the day, when we go to bed, the only person with our brain and in our mind is ourselves. So if you're worried about someone thinking you're too cringy or you're awkward or whatever, is their potential opinion more of a burden or you not fulfilling what you feel like you should do more of a burden in your life?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, if they're not even going to support you in the first place, maybe there's some rethinking we can do about what level of support they truly are in your life.
Yeah, because I want the people closest to me to be supportive of me with like anything I do. And I want to be supportive of them with anything they do. So if it's not like reciprocated, then I personally don't think I need them in my life.
Yeah. And I think it's like you said, just do it. Just
Mhm.
start. I think it's easy to feel like if we have, the inspiration to do some sort of creative venture or project, it can feel like, no, I need to think it all through. I need to get it perfect before I launch.
Mhm.
But I'd love to hear in all of the creative things that you're doing, has there been an experience where you've started something because you said, no, we're just going to start it, and then where it looks today versus where it looked when you started is completely different because it evolved over time?
Yeah. Like we were speaking about before off air, the podcast. I have a podcast and it's currently in the rebrand stage. And when I first started it, I think 4 years ago, it was called Behind the Girl Boss. And basically, it was a podcast to talk about women in business. And I loved it and it was so fun. But I was kind of like, I want to speak to more people. And I feel like having the girl boss in it kind of restricted me from doing that. And I wanted to have like more conversations with like non binary people, trans people, and stuff. And I just felt like girl boss kind of boxed it in. Now I'm currently in the rebrand stage of the podcast and it's going to be called The Layers of Us. And it's going to be conversations with anyone and everyone from any walk of life, talking about just their story, their identity, representation. So that's definitely a very big change, but at the same time, still going to talk about business, still going to talk about those things just in a new way. So there's that. And then there's been businesses that I started and stopped. And like that's okay too, to like acknowledge that. I used to have a candle business and that was really fun for me. But then I was like getting bored of it and I was like, yeah, I don't think this, like I want to do this anymore. And I stopped it. But then at the end of the day, like I don't have any like what ifs or like what if I started it type of thing. I just did it, didn't work out, didn't like it, but that's okay. And then I also had a clothing business at one point too, which is also really fun, but was just really hard to do, honestly. So that also stopped as well. But I'm like a very big, like, if I want to try it, I will and like see how it goes. And not everything becomes what you thought it would be. But like, I think that's okay. And I love to live life with trying things and like not having any regrets or second thoughts about it.
Yeah, I think that just sparked a thought for me. One of the best takeaways I've ever had from therapy, we love therapy,
Yes.
was my therapist told me that anxiety is a signal that you're not being true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognize there's a variety of anxiety feelings
Yeah.
in mental health, and I'm not putting a blanket statement over it, but that really resonates with me. And now I've been able to check myself whenever I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
anxious about something. I take a step back and I think, okay, how is this not aligned with me? What am I missing? And it's been crazy the things that I've learned and the way that I've redirected where I'm headed. For example, this podcast. I had thoughts about it for a couple years and it
Mm-hmm.
changed over time before I finally launched it. But I hit a point where I was like, no, I'm not in line with myself because I'm not starting this, because I'm not doing anything for it, because I feel such a strong pull to do this and to tell these stories and make a difference. And
Mm-hmm.
there's something down this path that I need to
Yeah.
explore. And by not taking those first steps, it wasn't in line with what my heart and my brain were saying.
Yeah.
So I think it's powerful to say, you know what? Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we're awkward, but
Yeah.
it's fine because at the end of the day, it's you. Just try it and see. And there's no shame in failing or things not working out the way you hoped it would.
Yeah. Like I said, like I feel like if I didn't start those things, I would always be thinking about it. So I'm like, now that I started it and it didn't work, like I don't think about it anymore. So it just like it helps you in the end.
And at the end of the day, that's not a failure. That's actually a
Exactly.
success.
Yeah.
Like you learned things with your candle business, you learned things with your clothing business, and now it's out of your mind. You
Yeah.
tried it, and now we can move on and keep being creative in other ways.
Exactly.
I
100%.
love that. So the more I talk to you, the more I realize you're just one of the most creative people. So as someone who is so creative, what are your tricks and tips whenever you hit a block? If you're working on a project, you're thinking through a solution and you just keep hitting a wall, what are
Hmm.
some of the ways that you get through a creative block?
That's a good question because I still feel like I'm trying to figure that out. But I think honestly, I get a lot of inspiration from other creators. So when I'm like really not sure what I want to do anymore, like content I want to film, I will just scroll through social media apps. And I think like I get ideas by doing that. And whenever I get any idea, I just like write it down in my notes app and then like I'll come back to it like another day. But yeah, it's a lot of like consuming other people's content. And then Pinterest, I feel like just sparks a lot of creativity, more like aesthetic creativity for me. But yeah, social media, unfortunately, is how I get over my creative blocks.
Yeah, which honestly, at the end of the day, it can be easy to feel like if I have a creative block, I have to keep staring down the problem or staring down
Hmm.
the thing. But it's almost like going to your social media, not thinking about the thing
Yeah.
sometimes is the solution. Like not looking at it, taking a
Yeah.
break, finding some other ideas, seeing what sparks and what connects to it. I
Yeah,
love that.
exactly.
That's
Like just putting it aside it's helpful because again, like you said, like staring at it is not going to really do anything. So just kind of putting it aside and like taking it out of your sight for a bit, I feel like will help you and then you'll come back like refreshed.
So you've built a really cool agency. I mean, you get to work for yourself. You're not doing the 9 to 5.
Hmm.
Where do you see this going? What's your, we talked all about
Yeah.
creativity and like what success is. And now I'm like, tell me what your 10-year plan is. But I'd love to hear
Yeah.
just some of your thoughts around that.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but you did speak about music marketing as well. And that's something that I recently integrated into it. So I'd love to just like dive deeper into that and like work with more musical people. I started doing a like talent management type of thing where I work with, right now it's just one creator, but I do like emailing for her for like brand stuff and everything. So maybe integrating that in the future if I like it. But yeah, I feel like I just have a lot of things that I like to do. So kind of seeing what else I can integrate into it. But yeah, I definitely want to focus more on the music side because music is something that's really important to me. And like I love consuming music on my own time. So like why not try and integrate that into the business as well?
It's cool that you're able to integrate so many things that you love,
Mm-hmm.
that you're really passionate about. And like we said at the beginning, you love music, you love concerts. So let's just take a minute. I want to just hear, what are your favorite tips for going to a concert to enjoy it? What are some of the favorite concerts you've been to?
Yeah, so I think my tips are to stay hydrated. I know that's like an easy one, but stay hydrated definitely. I would say to not think too much about your outfit. I feel like sometimes I think way too deep into it and then I end up hating it. And I'm like, I'm literally just at a concert. It doesn't need to be that deep. To go with a good group of people, I think the people that you're with really impacts the concert itself. And to just have fun, honestly. And also, sometimes I go to concerts that I don't even really know the artist, and I think that's like fun to me because I'm not like I don't have any expectations. And yeah, my favorite concerts I've been to, Madison Beer is one of my favorite artists, so definitely all the shows I've went to of hers. I've been to Cage the Elephant, and they're really good as well. Gracie Abram, Justin Bieber. I feel like every concert I've been to is special in its own way, so I've just enjoyed them all.
It's always interesting. I have a group of friends who a lot of them are all huge concert goers.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like an 80-year-old because I'm so different. Like, I'd rather be sitting down in the back with most concerts, unless it's like Chapel Roan or,
Mm-hmm.
specific
Oh, I've
artists.
also seen Chappell Roan now. I'll say her too. She's very good.
She just announced a tour, and I'm like, Chapel, we need more dates and locations.
Yeah.
But in a lot of concerts, I like to just like lean back a little bit more so you can enjoy it at whatever pace you want.
Exactly, 100%.
What are some of the other things that you've been really passionate about in your personal life?
Yeah, I think mental health is something that I'm very passionate about, especially like online. I talk about it a lot because I've dealt with like depression, anxiety for probably my whole life or as long as I can remember. And I think just talking about it is important and kind of normalizing it because I feel like it's still like a taboo subject and people like don't want to talk about it or things like that. And like therapy, like we said a bit, like therapy is so important to me. And I also think that people think you only have to be in therapy when you're like down, like really down or like in the worst part of your life. But I think you can be in therapy when you're doing really well too. Like I still go to therapy every month right now and I'm in a pretty good spot. And I think it just helps me and it's a part of my routine at this point. So I think just like mental health and therapy are really important to me and I think should be more normalized.
Totally. I'd love to hear, obviously, therapy is one thing that's super helpful, but as someone who's dealt with a variety of mental health things, but you're also really successful, you're self-employed, you're very creative. How are you able to balance those and maintain your overall mental health while you have all these ambitious goals?
Yeah, that's also something I'm trying to figure out because I feel like it's so hard to shut off sometimes, especially when you're working for yourself. Like, I don't have a 9 to 5, so I don't have like a start and end time unless I give myself one, but then it's kind of easy to just like not end at a certain time. So I think using Google Calendar has really helped me kind of just time block, and that's been really key to balancing everything I have going on. Yeah, that's the best thing I have so far. It's really difficult, but I think also giving myself at least one day off a week. I know like I should give myself more, but that's kind of what works for me right now is one day off to like not do anything, not my own content, not my business or anything. That's been working so far. So I think just gonna grow from there, go to 2 days and then potentially 3 and like see how I can like work with that.
Yeah, and you make a good point too. When you're doing marketing, when you're doing social, I'm in a similar boat. It's also me like researching and seeing trends and looking what's happening. And so it's easy to be scrolling outside of work, but not turning off the brain.
Yeah.
What are some ways that you're able to support your mental health and your self-care away from your phone, away from your content, that you're able to
Yeah.
kind of refresh?
I love journaling. I think that's really important. I try to journal every morning. Doesn't always happen, but when it does, it feels good. I also am a very big like self-care, skincare type of girl. So I like to do like an in-depth skincare routine sometimes, or taking a bath, reading. I think just like anything that takes me away from a screen is important, especially because with the work, I'm on it all the time. So just
Yeah.
having something to disconnect. I also really enjoy like coloring and stuff. I haven't done it in a while, so I should pick that back up. But yeah, just anything that I'm using my hands for without a screen, definitely key.
And it's important. So
Yeah.
wherever you're at in your journey, whoever's listening, wherever you're at, just know that it's okay. It's okay to talk about it.
Yeah.
And there's help out there. And we're all
Exactly.
just trying to get through life and enjoy life at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Okay, are you ready for our lightning round? The
Yes.
way we end every episode, just some fun questions. I was going to do some concert questions with this, but we've already kind of touched on those. So we'll go through a few others. So
Okay.
first one, I know you're really into pop culture. So what is one of your favorite pop culture moments in the last year?
It's a good question. I think probably the Met Gala. I just like love consuming the outfits and stuff, and I love judging people, even though like I cannot afford what they're wearing and I would not look like that or anything. But I think yeah, the Met Gala every year. I just like to like look at everyone's outfits. I think my favorite outfit from this Met Gala was Dochi's.
I love the Met Gala.
Just so fun.
So fun. My friend group has thrown a couple Met Gala parties, and it's so fun to see what each other comes up with.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's not necessarily to the level, and I'm not going to look like some of those people, but maybe there's
It's
some
fun.
fun things I could do instead.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your favorite dessert?
Honestly, chocolate cake. Very basic, but if there's chocolate cake, I'm gonna get it.
When it's done right, it's so good.
Exactly.
Okay, favorite TV show, movie, or book, or all three?
TV show, I have a lot, but I'm currently rewatching Scandal, so I'm just gonna say that.
So am I.
Yes,
It's
so good.
so
Like I can watch
good.
it so many times and still be like entertained. Movie, Perks of Being a Wallflower, just does something to me each time. And then book, probably Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
Love that book. And
Me
I
too.
love
It was like the book that got me back into reading again, so I love it.
Yeah, I bought that book, and I haven't been huge into reading since I was a lot younger. So I bought that book and read it, and I was like, wait, I love reading. I read it in
Yeah.
like 2 days.
Me
Yeah,
too.
it's a good. Okay, as a marketer, as a creative, what are some of the brands that you love the marketing of?
Road. I think they do such a good job, and it's so like simplistic, but at the same time so different from other brands. So I love that. I love Base, like the luggage company. I think they're really good. I think those are the two that come to mind.
If you weren't doing what you currently do for work, what would you be doing instead?
I think I would, I don't even know, maybe being like an agent for like music or musicians or actors. That would be cool. Or interior design. But I heard that you have to do math for that, so maybe not, but it would be fun.
Keep the math out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, for the last question, if you were in a tall building somewhere, you got on the elevator, and the other person on the elevator was your younger self, what short message would you say to your younger self on the elevator ride?
I think I would tell myself that in the moment we're exactly where we need to be, and to not try and rush everything or to rush to figure yourself out. And I would also say that at the end of the day, there wasn't that much representation growing up, but now you're someone who represents like the queer Asian community and have a lot of people that are also queer and Asian reach out to you. So it's okay that you didn't have that because you became that.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today. Everyone, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to leave us a review, like, subscribe, share with your people, and follow us and Amanda on all major social platforms. Until next time, be kind, be bold, be you. That's all for now.